Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with. I am Gladys Mizrahi, and I want to welcome an expert in today's topic. It's everything about culture, etiquette, and how those two collide. So, welcome, Yvonne Salas. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Gladys. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, before I go into and ask you a million questions?
Okay, well, as you said, I'm Yvonne Salas, and I'm an etiquette expert. Jointly with my sister Tenchi, we founded Etiquette Excellence way back in Venezuela many years ago. And we've been operating here in South Florida the last 15 years. And we're etiquette trainers, both in social and business etiquette. And we train and consult corporations and privately children, teenagers, and adults. And we work in making the world a more civil society. That's our mission.
That's amazing. So first I wanted to start by explaining in my words what etiquette is. And
Go
please
ahead. Go ahead.
In my simple words, I understand etiquette as a behavior, as a way of behaving in society.
That is correct. That's exactly what it is. It's rules of behavior, which are never out of fashion. I insist on the fact that it doesn't matter, how you work or what your field of expertise is. Etiquette is always applicable to anything that you do. So it's always important and it's always present. Even if you think you're not using etiquette skills, you are.
No, you totally are using etiquette skills. For example, in the event industry, it is extremely important because there is a certain etiquette that goes with, especially not only socially, but also with business.
Yes, totally agree. Because the concept of etiquette, Gladys, I insist on telling people it's respect. We have to respect ourselves and respect others. And the way we have interactions with people on our daily life can be respectful or disrespectful. And nobody wants to do business with somebody that's not kind, that's rude. And so, if we want to be successful in business, it's really important that we understand that getting along with people gives you an advantage. And getting along with people includes using etiquette, because you have to understand different kinds of respect that you owe people. Look, in business, we have to respect hierarchy. And that's one of the important things in etiquette. In etiquette, we have differences of the genders, men and women. We respect people according to their age. We owe the elder respect in the way we treat them. And in business, we have to understand that we have to respect our clients, our colleagues, and our bosses. And the way we do that is by using social skills, which at the end of the day is nothing more than etiquette.
Part of the etiquette and part of the etiquette is punctuality. And I think that, and I know you're laughing because it's all related to culture. So
Yes,
when doing events, and I remember many, many years ago, I did a presentation on the importance of punctuality and how it was related to the event planning. Because, for example, we really need to take into the account each person's culture and traditions. So I remember when doing an event for a Japanese company, the Japanese are so respectful for time. But it was because at that time, the biggest lesson was because not that you have to be on time, because they respect the fact that, that it's your time.
So true. So true.
And that is a huge lesson about respecting each other's time. So with that, my question to you. Been dealing with a lot of the, it says here in the United States, when you do an event, it's American time, which is 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. Latin time is 7:30, 8. And I am so sorry, but Venezuelan time, it's 2 hours late.
Totally agree. Well, this is a problem that we face, especially here in South Florida. For those that are watching from other parts of the world, this might not be something that you have to discuss. Because even in other parts of the United States, like you mentioned, when you get an invitation for 7 o'clock, you know that you have to be in the car 5 to 7, waiting till 7 o'clock to get out and ring the bell. Here in South Florida, we have so many cultures and so many Latin Americans, and we are definitely culturally very relaxed with time frames. So one of the many things that we try and teach, if that could be the word, but point out to our clients is that you have to understand where the person that is inviting you, be it for business or be it socially, where that person is coming from. Because, like you said, if you have Japanese clients and you have a business meeting at, 10 o'clock, you have to be in that office waiting room at 5 to 10. But if the person inviting you is, like you said, a Venezuelan, you understand that if you get there at 10 o'clock, maybe the person that invited you to that meeting didn't even get to the office yet because something came up for them. And they're very flexible. So yes, punctuality is a very important part of etiquette, but it's also very related to culture. So one of the other advices that we give is that if you're traveling for business, or if you're doing business with people from other cultures, from other countries, please do your research. Understand how important time, the respect of time is for them, so that you don't make a faux pas that can cost you the client or, the relationship.
I remember, and this is a story of 2005, the first event that I did with my company, Indigo Events. And it was honoring a CEO that had won a lot of awards. He was really big and he happened to be in Miami. So I asked him to be my speaker. And I wanted to be an honor also for the country. He was Colombian. So I asked the Colombian Council to join us and open the event. And I remember thinking that she was always late. So I told her an hour before of the actual event.
Okay.
So the event was scheduled for 9 a.m. I told her the event would start at 8.
Very good strategy.
I remember that she came in running 10 to 9. Oh, I am so sorry. I am late. And I said, you have 10 minutes to refresh yourself. I go, what do you mean I have 10 minutes? I go, this is not Latin time. That's why I said an hour. She was so relieved. And I remember years later that she said that I taught her a big lesson
Yes.
on what punctuality meant, but the event was here in the United States. There were a lot of people, there were a lot of American people, and I needed to be respectful of their time.
Right.
So I
Right.
learned since the beginning to relate to each culture and adapt to it. For example, for a Venezuelan wedding, I did 2 sets of invitations with 2 different times.
Oh, that's amazing,
So
Gladys.
for the Venezuelans, there was a 2-hour time difference. And somebody asked me, how did you get all the Venezuelans to get here on time? And
Trick them.
it's literally cultural.
It is. It is.
It is, and there is no way of explaining. I got an invitation the other day, which I found, and I think this is a tip for everyone. It says, disclaimer, this event will start on time.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
not like explaining.
Exactly. If you're here, fine. If you're not here, we're going to begin.
Here we would begin. So let me
Exactly.
go to the next question. The pandemic has taken over, and
Yes.
Zoom has been a daily life, a daily event in our lives. This is now how we communicate, how we
Exactly.
see people. There is a lot of etiquette that goes behind a Zoom meeting. But can you give us a little bit of what you have been teaching regarding that topic?
Well, that's very interesting because I'll take the opportunity to explain to people that etiquette, like language, evolves with time and with needs. So 2 years ago, we weren't teaching Zoom etiquette because, of course, we had Zoom meetings, but it wasn't on a daily basis, nor was everybody exposed to it. But one of the things that we have to remember is that just because you're in your home, if you're having a Zoom meeting for your business, for your company, with your colleagues, you have to treat it with the same respect and preparation as you would an in person meeting. What does that mean? First thing is that you dress accordingly. So, dress code is very important in etiquette. But in business, when you're having a Zoom meeting, just because I'm in my house, I don't think it would have been appropriate that I'm in my PJs as I'm having this conversation with you. So people have to understand that you're not going to have your laptop laying in your bed, that you are not going to be wearing your yoga outfit. If it's a business meeting, dress as you would have dressed for the office. And one of the wonderful things that Zoom has done is that it has allowed us these backdrops. But at the beginning, people were not even aware. I mean, there are jokes among the etiquette professionals of nude spouses walking behind somebody that was in a Zoom meeting because people are not aware that you have to tell the rest of the people in your household, listen, I'm having a business meeting between 10 and 11. Please, no noise. Take the dog outside because you hear these people. You're trying to have a conversation and there's a dog barking and there's babies crying. So the idea is that you have to create a bubble and make believe that you're in your office with all that that implies, from dress code to noises to being prepared. Because another thing that we are seeing is people in the middle of meetings having breakfast because they didn't have the opportunity to do that. Of course, you can have, something to drink because if you're speaking, your voice might, you might need it. But, having a sandwich. Oh, I'm sorry, is that I didn't have a chance to eat before the meeting. Well, hello, take precautions, wake up an hour earlier, have the respect that your colleagues deserve. Because I go back, etiquette is about respecting yourself and others. And showing that respect has many forms. And one of them is that take the time to prepare and show up as a professional, even if it's in Zoom.
Correct. Let me ask you something. For example, sometimes, okay, and I've gotten to the point where I've had like Zoom meetings back to back,
Yes.
and I needed to eat something, and I turned my camera off while I had a bite to eat.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that it wouldn't show up. But I also felt that it was irrespectful to turn the camera off. I
Right.
felt that I'm not doing, that it wasn't
Yes.
like I'm shutting the door on you.
Right. Well, I have done it too. And I have turned the camera off, for instance, when you have an unexpected Zoom meeting, somebody, that you weren't expecting. So I have just the audio and the camera because I didn't feel that I was, appropriate enough or in a place where the background was appropriate enough. But I do agree with you, Gladys. It's better to turn the camera off than, and do whatever it is that you need to do, have a snack or something, and then turn it on again. Another thing that people forget, in this case, is just the two of us. But when you have a Zoom meeting with 10 people, please turn off your mics, mute it, so that you don't perturb everybody else because the noise can get annoying and it interrupts the communication between the people. So if you're not the person speaking, have your mic turned off so that people can see you, but the noise doesn't bother the group. That's something else that I always advise.
Another question.
Go ahead. I'm enjoying this.
COVID and the pandemic etiquette.
Mhm.
Is there an etiquette of what we're going through?
Yes, yes, there is, because it's a worldwide event. So it has changed everyone's life. So the COVID etiquette now begins with the wearing of masks. So now that is the normal. So we have to make sure that, and another thing before I go into that is we don't shake hands anymore, which is something that I have always taught as being so important and to have learned to do it correctly. And all the messages that you can send with a firm and good handshake, we, yes, we no longer have that. So we have to substitute things. So, like I mentioned before, etiquette changes. So now it's not rude that you don't shake hands. On the contrary, but we have to learn. There's a terrific book for etiquette experts, which is called Kiss, Bow, Shake Hands, which is etiquette for worldwide. So before we knew that in other countries, in other cultures, you didn't shake hands, but perhaps you bowed, like in Asia. So now we have to learn to do that, or perhaps put our hands together and salute that
Like
way.
recognize in a way.
Exactly. Acknowledge that somebody else is there. And something that is more important than ever is to have eye contact.
Correct.
Because since you cannot see our mouths, but we can see our eyes. And I tell people, smile behind the mask because your eyes smile with you. So you don't want to go around, all frowny because your eyes show it. So there is a COVID etiquette that goes from how we say hello to how we wear a mask, which shows respect. And very importantly, we have to be aware, Gladys, that we don't know what people have been going through. So we have to be extra kind. I think this is a period of time where we have to show up really with empathy because we never know if the person we're speaking with had a death in the family due to COVID or have close friends that are going through it right now that are in the hospital. So now more than ever, we have to be courteous. We have to be accepting of perhaps people not being on their best moods because we simply don't know. And COVID has affected people in many ways. It's like they say, we're all going through the storm, but we're traveling in different vessels. So I might be in a little rowboat and I might be in a, 50-foot yacht. The storm is going to affect me differently. So we have to be very kind to people.
You're totally right. That I agree 100%. When you give a gift, when you give something, like for example, I don't like to go to anyone's house, and I know that it's been a year since we've been to other people's houses, and hopefully we're gonna start going to other places. I never go with an empty hand. I feel that if I've been invited, I need to take something. But is there any rule or is there any special etiquette about gifting?
There are some tips that we can share. First of all, you're totally correct. I think showing up empty-handed, it's a faux pas. You don't do that. Whenever you're invited someplace, you show up with something, which is showing gratitude simply for the fact that you were invited. Okay, so that's the first gesture. That's the first way. The first thing that we do when we get an invitation, we have to reply either yes or no, which is something that culturally we can talk about in another time. Us Latin Americans, we hate to say no. We never say no to anything, but then we don't show up. So the correct thing to do is if you cannot make it, say you're not going. But in any case, once you show up, yes, always bring something. But for instance, if you show up with a bottle of wine, which is very normal, what I tell my clients is don't expect to have it opened because you don't know if it matches the menu, if it's, already the hostess has planned what kind of wine she's serving. So you do not feel offended if they accept it, they thank you, but they put it away. It does not mean if they want to open it, perfect. If it matches the menu that they had planned, perfect. But if not, that's okay. You brought it for them to enjoy in another occasion. Okay, that's the first thing. Another thing that I recommend, if you're bringing flowers, which is another usual hostess gift, bring it with a vase or bring a plant. Why? Because you don't want to add more work to the hostess. So if you show up with a bunch of flowers, but they need to be placed in water, she's taking care of the other guest. Perhaps she doesn't have help in the kitchen or something. So she's going to need to go fetch in her cabinets for a flower vase. She needs to put water. This takes time. Maybe she has to cut the stems. So you don't want to give your hostess that kind of work. So show up with flowers that are already in a vase or a little plant with flowering plant, which doesn't need to have anything done to it, just put on top of a table. So that's something else that I would recommend. But yes, always, always, always show up with a little detail.
My last question, because I know this is a conversation forever, especially,
Yes.
for example, on the business etiquette, that we need to do one specially for that people do not reply to the emails.
Oh my God.
That is, I remember I did an event in Colombia and it was with the Disney Institute. And they sent an email to everyone that had asked for follow-up. No one replied. And they contacted me and said, is there any problems with the emails? no one replied. Go, no, it's culture. People don't reply. So just acknowledge, yes, I receive it. No, I'm not interested.
Exactly.
I
Yes,
will. But
right.
that's
And it doesn't have to be a long email.
just thank you so much. I got the email.
If that's it. Thank you. I got it. We'll get back to you. That's all. Yeah.
The biggest question in the event industry is the dress code.
Yes.
If you do not add dress code to the invitation, that would be the most asked question. You will receive a million calls. So I always remind the people when doing invitation to include the dress code.
Yes.
And that is extremely important. Can you tell us why?
Yes. Yes. It's very important because it reflects the mood of the event. So I always say there are no rules in terms of fashion. What is most important in terms of etiquette is appropriateness. So you have to dress appropriately according to the event. So there's nothing wrong with wearing shorts and flip-flops if you're going to the beach. But of course, you wouldn't show up like that at a formal wedding. So people have to comply with dress codes. Like you say, nowadays we make it easy because we place it on the invitation what the dress code is. But I always advise if it's not on the invitation and you don't know what is expected of you, do research. I have had clients that have been invited, for instance, to go to a polo match for the first time in their lives. It's okay. You don't have to go to a polo match every week. If you're not in the horse world, you don't have to know. But do find out. So do your research. Learn what it is appropriate for that event. Nowadays, look, when I started teaching, we didn't have Google, Mr. Google, to help us out.
Alexa.
Yes, but now you can, just Google it. What do you wear to a polo match? You're going to get hundreds of replies. You're going to get images. You're going to see pictures of Princess Kate at a polo match. So you pick up after, if she's wearing it, that's the right look. So copy it. So the important thing about etiquette is doing your research, find out what dress codes means, because sometimes you can even in a dress code, in an invitation, put black tie, and people don't necessarily know what that means. So do your research. But yes, comply with dress codes. If it doesn't say it on the invitation, do your research. And if it says it on the invitation, follow it, because that is what is expected behavior of you for that particular event.
You're totally right. And Yvonne, with that, our time is up.
Oh, it went by quickly, so it was very enjoyable.
And I really appreciate, I know this is for many, many more conversations. There is one that I was missing is the kids. How early do we teach our children?
I say if, yes, 2 years old, you can start saying, they
Table
can
manners.
write and to say please and thank you among their first words. And that's a good beginning for establishing an etiquette lifestyle early on.
I call it the magical word.
Yes, they
The
are.
magic word. Thank you. And
They are.
with that, thank you so much.
Thank
Everybody,
you.
be safe.
You too.
Everything else. And see you next week. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gladys.